This is how I make clamps like these. If I can pull one out to go on the 1/2-inch PVC pipe that will hold the fabric to it. Usually I put a tap screw, I drill a little hole and I'll put a tap screw in to make sure that the clamp does not pop off. So the first thing you do is get your pipe cutter. I use this tool. You can use a saw and other methods also, but you have to determine what kind of pipe to use. Now here are two types. You'll notice that the one on your left is thicker than the one on the right. You need the thin pipe. This is schedule 40. I'm not sure what this schedule is, but it's the thin version of 1/2-inch pipe. So you take your pipe, you put it into your pipe cutter and determine what size you want the clamp to be long-wise. I have some that are fairly long, some that are fairly short. It's just whatever you think you might need. I'm going to make this one this size here approximately. So you cut the pipe thusly. Here's your little piece of pipe. And I use wire cutters. We use these when we're cutting our chicken wire. You just go through and cut the wire, but they work well for these. You can saw these also, but to me it's harder to saw than it is just to use cutters. So you stick it in like so, and you just close the handles. Now you want to be careful not to get your finger stuck inside there when you pull these out, because it's hard to get off your finger and it hurts. I estimate the amount of cut that's going to come off by using one that I've already cut. It's approximately this much space. Sometimes if you don't use enough space, it's hard to get the clamp on. If you use too much space, they don't stay on as well. But since I'm putting a tap screw in there anyway, they're going to stay on. But anyway, I've done my first cut. I don't know if you can see it or not. And I'm going to guesstimate the second cut. So I'll go through here and cut it thusly. Now that is not enough space. So I'm going to go back and trim it just a little bit to get my spacing correctly on there. It's a fairly easy operation. And let's see. I think I want just a little bit more off. So I'm going to trim just a tiny bit more. Usually when I'm cutting these things, I'll try to find let's say a piece of pipe that has writing on the side of it, and I will use that as my guide. I'll leave so much space on each side, and it's just a little easier than if you're using a non-printed type of pipe. I'm going to make two out of this one. So open my cutters and estimate the halfway point. One thing about cutting these is, with this thinner pipe, you really need your pipe all the way against this edge. Otherwise, it'll tend to not cut as well. Okay. So I got my wire cutters. Now there's my lettering. I'm going to go this much on this side of it. Cut it, and I'm going to go approximately the same amount on the other side, and that should give me a piece that's just about perfect, and I think that will work very well. So that's the way I do this, and you can make a lot of clamps from one stick of PVC, and it's pretty easy to do just using the two cutters. You can use a drill press to cut the hole in the piece like this. Or you can just use a regular power driver and do the same thing. It's very easy to do, and that gives you a starter for your tap screw when you have it clamped onto a piece of pipe. Otherwise, it's a little bit tricky sometimes. You tend to slide off a little bit out there when you put it on. This way you have a place for your screw to start, and just run the screw in there very slowly and it'll go right in. I'm using a 3/32 inch drill bit on these. Approximate the middle. There's your hole.